Iberia was invaded in 711, and for the next 700 years, there was continuous warfare as the various Catholic kingdoms tried to take back piece by piece the Iberian Peninsula. And that's the culture that came to Latin America. So their understanding of what it meant to be a Catholic was very much shaped by this idea of not just war, but a holy war against Islam in the Iberian Peninsula.
In the 16th century, Europe was in a state of chaos. The Protestant Reformation threatened to split the church. But at the same time, Luther was battling the church. The first conquistadors were battling the great empires of the New World. The Catholic Church countered the Protestant Reformation with a campaign of its own, one that would extend the Crusades beyond Europe. And because of the historic voyage of Christopher Columbus in 1492, an entirely new world lay open before both crusader and clergy. Each would choose to become sinner or saint. The colonization of Latin America in the 16th century would do more than conquer the land. It would make Counter-Reformation Catholicism the first worldwide religion, but at a terrible cost.
We came here to serve God and to get rich.
First of all, let me destroy the myth that Columbus was the one who said that the world was round. People knew that the world was round long before Christ. They had measured it with just a few kilometers error. Columbus' mistake was that he knew it was round, but he didn't know how big it was. And so he was convinced that all he had to do was just go west and he would arrive at the Indies, which was the Far East. He goes to talk to the Queen, and to get support for his enterprise. The Queen supports him, and part of his charter is to bring the gospel to any lands that he meets.
On August 3rd, 1492, I set sail from Spain to find an ocean route to Asia. We hoped to find treasures more precious than gold.
And that was basically part of the enterprise.
After more than 2 months at sea, what I found was a much shorter route to the Far East, or so I thought.
He got lost. He had no idea where he was until the Indians discovered him.
They are convinced that I, with these large ships and men, came from heavens. In that belief, they received me everywhere after they overcame their fear.
His goal was mainly a matter of commerce, spices. Most spices were, and some of them still are, worth more than gold by weight.
When I spoke to the Queen, who was very religious, I said, I bring many people into the faith, and we're going to get very wealthy. So wealthy that we will be able to reconquer Jerusalem for Christianity.
Well, I think it's really important to understand the history of Iberia before the conquest of Latin America. And Iberia was invaded in 711, and for the next 700 years, there was continuous warfare as the various Catholic kingdoms tried to take back piece by piece the Iberian Peninsula. And that's the culture that came to Latin America. So their understanding of what it meant to be a Catholic was very much shaped by this idea of not just war, but a holy war against Islam in the Iberian Peninsula. So they basically transferred that mentality to a new area of the world. If you look at the conquistadors themselves, you'll find some of them who were devout, who were pious, but still believed in this very warlike version of Christianity. And you'll find many who were real villains, who didn't even pretend to be good Catholics. But the interesting group for me is that first group, the ones who were warlike, but still went to Mass, still confessed their sins. Historians and other scholars tend to look at Catholicism as either just a cloak for other motives or as pure hypocrisy. But I think it's more complicated than that. I think that you see degrees of faith, degrees of sincerity, and you also see changes, right? You see actual repentance. Like Las Casas is the perfect example. If you had looked at his life in his first few years in the New World, you'd have said, yeah, this guy, he's a Christian in name only. But if you looked at his life after his conversion, you would say this man is totally committed to Christ. So I think free will is important, right? The possibility of change. Some people choose to do evil and some choose to do good, but there's also people who choose to do evil and then, for whatever reason, through the grace of God, they come to their senses and they say, wow, this was wrong. Now those people are few and far between, which is sad, but they're there. They're at every stage of the story.